Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I think today's show is going to be on brand with Card Talk. Like, Card Talk has a it's going to be...
You are a son of a bee.
Within our message, right? It's going to be in line with our brand.
We definitely have
Card Talk.
Yeah, there's definitely a brand. Card Talk.
I think so.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good episode.
It is going to be a good episode.
Really excited.
I'm really excited.
Before we get to our card, David has some messages for our audience.
Yes, before we get to the card, I have some messages.
This show is brought to you by viewers like you.
The show is brought to you by viewers like you. Okay, anyways. I don't know what I was doing there, but nothing like mimicking Ted to get the show started correctly. For anybody who wants to enjoy Card Talk, there are plenty of ways for you to take in what we do. The first thing is you're listening to the pod or watching us on YouTube. That's great. Subscribe, like all that stuff. There's plenty of stuff to keep you busy for many, many days, months, even years, if you so choose. If you like what we do here at the pod, review cards, talk about how to use them, inspire you to build decks, go over to the blog. Matt over at the blog does the same thing, but in the written form, so you can read what he does. And the neat thing about what he does is he'll see things that we don't see, or he will take things in a little bit different way.
Since he can expand and like list more cards and list more combo. He can kind of elaborate a little bit more, because we don't want our episode to be like, well, here's all 100 targets for this card to be played on.
Yeah. Yep. And then the other couple of things that we do is we have Second Breakfast, where Micah plays a scenario with certain deck restrictions on his deck, and then he'll play and have fun, and he posts those over on the YouTube channel. And the last thing is if you want to be a part of getting swag, this year is kind of in the bucket for us, but next year, or next cycle, I don't want to say year because I'm not sure exactly when we put out swag every so often. But this year's swag is in full production. I'm excited to say, so be ready for that to come out soon.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. There's it's cool.
It is cool. And it's something that I have not seen in the community before. I've seen stuff like it, but not
right.
This, not this.
Right.
So it's neat. So expect that. Anyways. Yeah. But if you want to, you can become a patron and support the show. If you want to be part of the swag, you have to join the $5 level, be there for 6 months, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, that's at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. That was a long intro to talk about Brand, Son of Bain.
Heyo.
Ted, talk about Celeborn. I mean, Brand, Son of Bain.
We had a little joke earlier, which we'll share with you. So we're going to talk about Bain, Son of Bain. He's in the Arid Mithrin cycle, so if you get the player card pack that was repackaged, you will get him, or he came in the original Wilds of Ravanian deluxe box. And he basically sort of supports a new archetype around a keyword. Bain, Son of Bain he's a new version. He's leadership as opposed to his previous tactics version. He's got the same stats as his tactic version. He's 10 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense with 3 hit points. He is Dale and Noble traded, which his tactics version is only Dale. He has the following text. Each Dale character you control with a player attachment gets +1 willpower. Response: after you play an attachment on a Dale character without an attachment, draw a card. Oh, man. He does things.
Yeah, I would say he does a lot of things. I mean, I've played around with Dale a little bit. I have not, I don't have a ready-made Dale deck, although there is just one kind of Dale deck. There's versions of that Dale deck, but it's all the
There
same.
are multiple ways to
But it's
build
like, it's
a
still
Dale
the
deck.
same thing, right? I mean, the goal of a Dale deck is to get attachments, put attachments out on the characters, including your heroes, and then go from there. And so, like...
It's attachments, right? Because in order to get the willpower bonus, it has to be a Dale character. And then to get the card draw, it has to be a Dale character. So, yes, you're playing this hero with Dale allies is this, like, minimum.
Right. And so, and that was our joke earlier about Celeborn, is that this guy, a lot of times when we talk about cards, we're like, well, where else does this person fit in? This card does not fit into any other card types that I can think of. He's just going to go into your Dale deck, and just like Celeborn's going to go into your Sylvan deck, and
yeah,
you go there.
Bain, leadership Dane supports dwarves. Like he's the hero that supports the archetype. Although he's a little bit different than some of the other ones, like Leadership Dane and Celeborn, because those characters get global boosts. Brand is more selfish, and he only gives the boost to a Dale character you control. And although his response is after you play an attachment on a Dale character without an attachment, draw a card. So
yes,
I've never done
the table.
If somebody else has like a Long Leg Fisherman, or something.
Why'd you pick Long Leg Fisherman?
Well, because it's a Dale card that might go in any deck that isn't Dale. So you could play it on an ally, and then you would draw the card. So you get to gift the attachment, right? And then you sort of get to recoup it still. Which that makes me want to make like a Giver of Gifts deck. Right. But then they have to have Dale allies, right? It's hard to know at a con, like,
well, you could say, here, play this deck and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
And then you play the Giver of Gifts and they have the Taker of Gifts, right?
Yeah. So you do get that kind of benefit if you wanted to, if it happened to work out because they were playing some Dale, which there's actually a couple that people might play, but yeah, so he fuels Dale archetypes, and you're definitely, your deck is filled, like all your allies want to be Dale, and then all of your attachments that you have in the deck want to be played. They want to be playable ideally on characters, because if you limit your items to, there's plenty of heroes there's plenty of attachments in the game that are hero only.
Right.
Okay. So you want one that goes on any character so they can be played on your ally, which this cycle in its player box has plethora, many attachments.
I feel like that was part of the gifts, is they were like, well, let's make a whole bunch of attachments that can go on characters and not just heroes. So like round shield, ancestral armor, all those things that we've already talked about in other shows.
So let's just chat a little bit. What do you think of his stat line? Why don't we, because that's specific to him, right?
Yeah, I think that, again, when I've played Dale, this guy is nice because he can kind of do some things. Like, he's not just stuck. You want him to kind of be your attacker until you can get the Guardian of Esgaroth out, and then you can, and then the Guardian of Esgaroth can be your attacker, but he also has 3 willpower, because this is maybe where you're going to play King of Dale, and so like you put King of Dale onto him and he gets 3
I mean, well, it's
You
like,
know, like
yeah. So he's got 2 willpower, and then his ability affects himself, right? So
right.
he's going to be 3. But like, what the craziest scenario? I mentioned this. I mentioned some really powerful cards, like Steward of Gondor, which he's
Right.
leadership. So Steward of Gondor by itself, fantastic card, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
you say?
Yeah.
What if I said you get to play Steward of Gondor, and it gives your character a +1 willpower,
Right.
and
You
you
get
draw a card
because of it. Right.
That's what you can do with him. You'd be like, I'm gonna give him Steward of Gondor. He's now +1 willpower. I'm gonna draw a card.
Right.
Like, what?
Right.
That's
You made a
crazy.
card that was already people complain about. Now they're complaining about it more. Right.
Yeah.
Like
So he counts himself. So you get to, and he'll also count other Dale heroes, which there's another really strong one. And I don't want to talk about the other one too much because we're gonna have a whole episode on him.
right.
But he does count other Dale heroes, so we should list. He does work pretty great with Lanwin.
Mm-hmm.
Is the other Dale scout, and her ability? She's got 2 willpower, 3 ranged.
Right.
So there's tons of great items for her, and her ability is that when she could quest for 3, and then her ability is when you get a surge, she can ready or get +2 more willpower, right? And she's ranged, so you want to play like a bow or something to boost her attack, which is 3, right? So, so it's Dale, and then the other hero that goes with it is
Bard.
let's see here. Hold on, we're doing Brand. It's gonna be Bard,
Right.
His son. There's the other version of him, and I honestly want to say that's it.
But what about like Barivore?
So Barivore is Dunedain,
Yes, but like
right?
I'm not sticking in the like in a Dale deck. Barivore sometimes is the third hero.
Oh, sure.
Need. I mean, there's a lot of ways to build the Dale deck, like you said, but like
tons of ways. Yeah. I was just mentioning if you wanted to have an all
Dale
Dale lineup, right? You could have 3 Dale heroes. You could also Messenger of the King, a unique ally.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wigloff is actually a crazy good target in a Dale deck.
Right.
Even though half of his ability is kind of lost, where he gets to play an attachment or whatever. Wigloff's abilities, he gets to exhaust an item, to ready. So when he's Messenger of the King, he starts in the game, you get to put an attachment, he gets +1 willpower, draw a card, and then if it's an item, he can just ready. He's got 3 willpower, and you can just ready him.
Now, I mean, and this is a rulesy question that has nothing to do with Bran, son of Bain, but like, if you Messenger of the King Wigloff, you can still play an attachment from your hand because
for free. You know what? You might be right, actually,
because you've already drawn your hand and it's a response. You can trigger responses anytime you want.
Because Messenger of the King is set up, right? And setup happens last.
You set up that after you draw your hand.
Yeah,
unless you're so the official rules say you draw your hand and then but people were like, no, you just want your hero out and stuff. But this is one of those times where it makes sense that you Messenger of the King Wigloff, but you draw your hand, hope you don't get Wigloff, and then go find Wigloff, put Wigloff into play as a Messenger of the King, and then put the attachment on it. And then get all the crazy things and draw the card. And
yeah, actually, you're right.
Sorry. This is not about Wigloff or Messenger.
Nope, it's not a Wigloff episode, but that is important when we do have his episode.
Yeah. Right.
So we'll go into that more depth in future Wigloff episode.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you want to have there's I can't think of any more unique ones off the top of my head. Someone is shouting it into there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that immediately came to mind. There might be another one or two. and someone is shouting it into their listening
Yeah,
device in their
I
car.
can.
They're
I
like,
can.
"Blah, blah, blah,"
Right.
you know, they're yelling, "Ah, what are you doing, David?" You know, um,
If you
but
keep talking about this guy, I'll look it up.
anyway, yeah. So his ability works on other Dale heroes, which is fantastic, and it's a reason to have an all Dale lineup. And yeah, he's gonna have 3 willpower. He's gonna be 3 attack. His defense stat is not great. 2 defense and 3 hit points makes him not so hot. Although, you can change that. We actually just did an episode on ancestral armor, right? He's both noble and leadership, so he could become 4 defense, 6 hit points, and then you would draw the card and he'd get the willpower boost. So you could fix him up with the right attachments in your deck, which there are many to choose from. But yeah, you want to have to support your Dell archetype. You want to have items, and again, that box basically has everything you need, which is kind of neat. So if you're a new player and you buy the revised core set, and then you purchase the Arid Mithrin like player cards, you can build a very good, strong Dale deck. The first Dale deck I built when Wilds of Rovannion came out was with Leadership Aragorn, and then Brand and Bard, and it actually reminded me of the core set days because the first deck I built was Leadership and Spirit. It was like Aragorn, Theoden, and Eowyn, and it reminded me of that.
Right.
I was like, oh, this sphere together with Aragorn. It did a very similar thing, and it was very strong.
That's so funny.
But yes, there's lots of ways. So I used Aragorn. You mentioned Barivor, because she's just, card draw, jack of all trades. I could even see someone, because if you're playing Bard, right? Bard's got an ability to spend his money on items, so you can have a 3-sphere deck if that's kind of how you're constructing Dale, but so many other heroes. You could easily fit a tactics hero, Moblung for more resources. If you wanted a better defender, either version of Baragond, one would be Spirit, even the tactics one.
Right.
Who could then, you're playing items in your deck, which gets reduced cost on the tactics version. So many ways you could go. Yeah.
So King of Dale goes. First of all, let me address the thing. Wiglaf, only unique Dale or Esgaroth hero, so he would be the only one that Messenger of the King. So
all right,
that's good. But as you're thinking of attachments, and of course all attachments are good in a Dale deck. Let me back off. All attachments are better in a Dale deck than they are normally. But so what are you need to have King of Dale. Does King of Dale have to go on Brand, or can it go on Bain? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
because the King of Dale is a 2-cost spirit attachment. It gets exhaust King of Dale to reduce the cost of the next Dale ally you play this phase by 1 for each different player attachment on attached hero. That ally does not require a resource match. So, and that's not even like a player item attachment. It's just a player attachment.
So if you have this and Steward of Gondor, you're saying I get to reduce the cost of my next Dale ally by 2?
By 2. And then if you have an unexpected courage, that's 3. But does the King of Dale have to go on Brand, or can it go on Bain?
It can go. It says attached to a Dale or Esgaroth hero, which is funny because it's a little nod to the other Bard, right?
Right.
Which he could be your third hero if you wanted a thematic kind of lineup, and then he could have this on him.
So I mean, and this is the thing. There's a lot of flexibility in what attachments you put in, what allies are pretty set with the if you want to maximize the Dale deck, You want to make sure that they're the Dale allies, like the Long Lake Trader, the Long Lake Fisherman, the Warrior, Warrior of Esgaroth, like there's a whole bunch of the Redwater Sentry, like all these different.
So many, yeah, and it's hard.
The attachments are what are going to change.
Yeah,
even the because you have so many attachments, you may not even be running very many events. But there's the events
I would say
lower, right?
There are several events. Yeah, like there's an event called Two Arms, which readies an ally with an attachment that's in spirit. Ever Vigilant is actually quite strong in a Dale deck as well, because that readies an ally also.
Traffic from Dale, which gives you
resources.
Like
the crazy thing is in a Dale deck, especially if you plan on playing multiplayer, there's so many ways in a Dale deck to get resources between Traffic from Dale and King of Dale, the one you just mentioned,
right?
That you actually don't even need to play Steward. So if you plan on playing multiplayer, or you're going to a convention, you can very easily not run Steward of Gondor and let somebody else play it. However, if you're playing by yourself or maybe just 2-player and only one person's running leadership, you can get insane amount. Like usually my Dale decks are just flowing in resources, and sometimes I put in Messenger
what? Messenger Raven?
No, the one that transfers money.
Oh, there's the
he's Gondor traded.
Yeah, he's the
yeah, I think
right. He's the horse guy.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, someone else is. Man,
I'm screaming. Right,
Messenger.
No, not Messenger.
It's not Messenger the King.
No,
it's not Envoy either.
No.
Anyway, someone's super mad that I can't.
I know. I'm super mad that I can't think of it, because that's like.
I've played Parting Gifts.
Errand Rider.
Errand Rider.
That's it.
I
didn't call it up. I just remembered. I could see the picture in my head of that.
Yes,
card.
He's on the whole.
He's like,
yep.
Right.
So I've played Errand Rider, and believe it or not, I've played Parting Gifts, and I've just been like, here's like 12 resources. Like, I've seriously just dumped money on other players.
This goes with our Gandalf search idea. You can put your deck back in any order.
I could probably, yes, I could probably build a Dale deck that not only generates sufficient money to do the Gandalf search trick where I reorder your entire deck, it will simultaneously still function.
Right. Right.
It'll actually I'm going to quest for 10 and I'm going to block, it'll actually like attack and quest and stuff like that. So maybe I'll consider that. That's definitely going to happen one Con of the Rings here.
Make sure you check out the Gandalf search episode if you haven't.
Yeah, it's coming. But yeah, what's cool about Dale decks is he boosts willpower, so definitely a strong questing deck, but the items make up a lot for your attack power. There's lots of weapons and armor, and then there's allies that get bonuses for playing weapons and armor on them that sort of double that bonus. So you can kind of go one way or the other. You can be more focused on willpower or focused on attack, but they actually tend to be very well-rounded decks.
Yeah. The one thing that I think that Dale deck can struggle maybe a little bit at the beginning, because you have to kind of get that engine going. So you need like a round or two. I mean, unless you're lucky, like you need a couple of rounds to kind of get the characters out, and then have enough resources and stuff like that.
It can, like every other deck, right? But the cool thing is, as long as you get if you got 2 Dale heroes, because you're probably playing Brand and Bard. And even if you get 1 opening attachment, first turn, you're going to draw a card for the regular turn phase, and then you're dumping an item on Brand, and then you're drawing another card. Right? You see 2 more cards first turn with 1 attachment. And if that's another attachment, his ability is not limited either. Right. That's another very important thing. It doesn't. It's only restricted to the Dale character not having an attachment.
Right.
And then there's other tricks you can do with long leg trader,
Right.
where you play an item and then you move it away and then you play a different item on the character, which is also, I've played and not played that ally in this deck.
Right. Yeah.
Again, there's just so many things to name.
There's a lot of versions kind of the same deck as well.
Yeah,
it's all fun too. Like it's all like a fun build, because you can definitely put a new and unique spin on that deck, because it is just attachments. That it's not Dale attachments. It's just where it's just the target of the attachment, right? It doesn't even give the type of. It doesn't have to be an item. It can be a skill or a song or anything, you know. So there's just the broadest type of thing you can do with that. And we didn't even really hit on the card draw. Like, you know, I mean, I know that we've talked about it, but like in a game, card draw is maybe the second most important thing that you need. You know, like you need somebody to defend, but you also need to get at the cards that you need to get your deck going. You know, if your engine is inaccessible, and so card draw, this is built-in card draw, you know. So
I can tell you it's sufficient. You don't need, as long as you have the requisite number. Well, it's not like a required number of attachments, right? But you want to generally have.
Yeah, you're not playing this deck with like 4 attachments.
You're probably going to have like 15.
Right.
You know, maybe even 20. Because the thing is, you want to be playing an attachment like per turn, and there's plenty of great attachments that are 0. Right? Or there's allies that get to play attachments for reduced cost on them, or, you know,
right.
So, like Bow of You, for example, is a great 0 cost tactics item that you can play with Bard. Or if you have if one of your heroes is tactics, you can just play it. And that's going to net you a card right away and give that, if it's a Dale character, gets the willpower boost.
Right.
So I've never included any other card draw than just this hero.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that's what makes this such a fun archetype. But back to Brand, is this guy only goes into a deck. Like you don't build a Sylvan deck with this guy all of a sudden in it. Or you don't even build like a, you know, what I would call like a general use like Free People's deck. You don't have to use Free People's deck, but you know, like something that's got like a whole bunch of different types of things just kind of mixed up and stuff. Like,
no, you're going to want 100% of your allies to be Dale. Well, I shouldn't say 100% because I mentioned Errand Rider. I've also played like Gandalf, right? Like
healing,
leadership, so he has healing attack. So I'll play Gandalf. Yeah, healing is good, which there's a Dale ally that heals. And thanks to the card you mentioned, King of Dale, that actually I think is Dale Messenger or Messenger of Dale. It's an ally that when it enters play, it heals 1 off of each Dale character with an attachment, or like character with an attachment on it, or something like that. It didn't come out. I don't think it came out in the Arid Mithrin cycle. I think it came out
in the
Vengeance of Mordor. Yeah, and it kind of like gave Dale, like, oh, Dale was missing healing, and now you don't even need to play a lore hero. You can play.
So Dale Messenger.
Dale Messenger, thank you.
Right. And it's the one with the weird thumb, if anybody...
It's the weird thumb.
Right? After Dale Messenger enters play, again, enter play ability, choose a player. That player heals 1 damage from each character he controls with a player card attachment.
Right. And a Dale deck that's going to be like most
that's
of your
all
characters.
Of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a one-time use Sylvan Tracker.
Yeah, it helps. It helps to put 3 of these in the deck. You do need to have, if you're playing not lore, you do need to have the King of Dale attachment out, so you don't need the spear match. If you got a friend and they got Elrond on the table, they could trigger their response and heal 2 off of each character. But yeah, the list is pretty long. But yeah, this hero very, very specific to the Dale archetype. The deck will be great at play attachments, play the Dale allies. You will do well.
All right.
You will have money. You will have cards. It's very self-sufficient. Like, you just need those two things, and the deck runs, and then you can splash any other hero or fun cards, and
right, and that's where the variability comes in.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
so
yeah, just have a lot of fun. Is there any reason to play Thorngill and then get the other version of Bran, Son of Bain?
That's a great question. No, because
not with that deck. The other one's ranged, and he's got, when somebody else participates in attack, ready him or something.
Yeah, you get to
that other character.
His tactics version gets to ready a character that isn't one of your characters.
Right.
So in a solo game, it's useless. And this version doesn't have range. You'd have to then play an item to make him range, which you could do because your Dale deck is going to be filled with items.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do it with Dunedain.
Yeah, Dunedain ranged.
The
signal that gives you cash.
Well, it's not a signal. It's actually an item.
Yeah, it's an item. Cash.
It's an item.
Cash, I think.
Yeah. Right? So you could make him range. Probably another way to do it. So you could make him ranged.
But you can make, if Thorngill would make with the tactics version, they get the whole text box.
They get the whole text box, so he becomes ranged. My mistake. Ranged. I forgot about that factor.
Yeah.
So he would be, so it's not. I guess it's not then terrible because he would get his ability and he has 3 attacks still, and then he would get ranged with that. You're right. He would get it with Thorngill.
And it would count as a player card attachment on a hero.
You would actually, yeah. If you
so you would be able to play. You would be able to draw a card because of it.
First turn, you play Thorngill. Yeah, you would get a draw card and give him the willpower boost, and then he gets his other ability, which it's actually not terrible if you're playing multiplayer. So because then you don't need it's a lot better because then you don't need another card. So that's another good mention.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to play this with, particularly any of the specialty contracts. Like, you're not going to play this with Burglar's Turn because that's, non-bow. You're not going to play this, probably on a 3 Hunters. I mean, it would kind of work, but not very well.
You could, there's a argument to maybe try a 3 Hunters deck with 3 Dale heroes. And then play those restricted items for 1 less and get the willpower. You do get the additional willpower boost, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you play it with 3 heroes, so it actually might be pretty good. I've never tried a Perilous Voyage Dale deck, although I have a feeling there's so many Dale allies and there's so many attachments that deck would function too.
Oh, I'm sure, right? Perilous Voyage, you get a 100-card deck. You get to, draw.
Yeah, and then you're drawing. You
get
2
cards around.
Exhaust it. Well, you get to draw. Yeah, you get to draw your 1 card.
Right.
Then you get the contract to look at 2 cards.
Right.
And
put one
take
at the bottom of your deck and put.
And then you're drawing another card with.
Right.
This hero.
You're going through the whole deck still.
And you could pretty much probably throw every single Dale ally just into the deck. Right. You might have a little bit trouble finding. I would actually then suggest. I want to build this deck now. I'd actually suggest probably Elrond as the 3rd hero because you need to find the Dale allies are spread across all 4 spheres.
Right.
So you'd have finding the one. Well, of course, if you hit your threshold, once you hit 50 threat, you get to go find a 3-cost card. You could go find King of Dale.
Right.
And be like, King of Dale, me now. Me, right. King of Dale.
Right.
You're guaranteed to get it at that threshold.
Yeah, and there's lots of cards that you can use to dig out. Long Lake Fisherman, right? Hey, Vilya, Elrond with Vilya, Heed the Dream. Yeah. Right. Then should we put him in the ringer? So for anybody that doesn't know or may not have gotten this far in a previous Card Talk episode, and I can't imagine why, since this one is approaching too long. We have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rank a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card who ruled them all, and a 10 is a card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it was made. Okay, so I appreciate when you said it's a 1. In a Dale deck, for me, obviously this thing is a 1. It hits all the things. It gives you card draw. It gives you extra willpower. Like, this is like the the leadership Dine in a dwarf deck, right? And so, but this is where I think you and I depart, is like, I don't seek to build and play Dale decks. I feel like this was, I don't want to say an afterthought, but I feel like they were like, well, what can we do with Brand from the not core set, but from the first cycle? And it was like, let's do something cool. Let's make this Dale deck. It triggers off attachments. So I think that there was some creative stuff there. It kind of really fits the attachments is neat because Dale and Esgaroth were known as kind of the trading. Yeah, like, so there's some neat stuff there, but I just am not drawn to playing Dale decks very often, which is why it's not against a Dale deck. It's just something that I'm not done. So, like, I can't give this card a powerful rating if it's not something that makes me want to play it, right? So I think I'm going to have to give this a 5 or a 6. 5. I'll stick to a 5 just because, like, but if I'm building a Dale deck, I have to put this in. So in the Dale deck, it's a 1, right? Like, you build this in the Dale deck, but it only goes in a Dale deck. And so, I don't know. This is hard to ring. So it has to be based on how much I want to build a Dale deck because of Brand, Son of Bain. And I mean, I've played Dale decks a couple of times, even recently. Most recently, I've been messing around a little bit with Dale, but again, it's just not a thing, I guess, for me. So there you have it. Bran, Son of Bain. And next week, we will talk about more sons of people. So everybody have a good day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.